I'm Mitchie P. Back for Fantasy and Science Fiction Fest. Today's video is a book haul of sorts. I know BookTube, YouTube is populated with these types of videos. However, I do read quite a bit, try to read as much as possible. Although I think I've stated on this channel a few times that I'm lucky to get through one book in its entirety, let alone a full series or whatever. But yeah, there's not too many times I can or am able to go out and acquire books or things of that nature. That's mainly why, instead of once a month or whatever, like most people with these channels do, I may do them once or twice a year, maybe 3 times, but I think once or twice a year is pretty much average for me. So with all that out the way, here's a little June 2024 book haul. As usual, I am unable to hold up the books I am discussing in. All of these are physical purchases, so no digital or Kindle purchases. You'll just have to trust that I have the books. Actually, I could turn the Kindle in a little bit to show the books in some capacity because they're right alongside, so I may do that in a few minutes toward the end of this video. So with all that being said, the books are Don Quixote and if I try to pronounce the author's name, I will butcher it, so I will not try in the slightest to pronounce the author's name. That is a paperback copy of Don Quixote, and yeah, the book itself was about $7, so I know I'm famous for not holding prices on book purchases, but or any purchase for that matter, but I think I may become relaxed on that just a little bit. So just know all these were under $10 except for one purchase, and when I get to that purchase, I will say what it is, and if I turn the camera to the stack of books, you'll be able to pick that one out right away. So anyway, other than Don Quixote, I have the Italian. I have no idea who the author might be. With that one, never heard of it, never crossed my mind until I saw the cover of the book at the store. Don Quixote, and another purchase I will mention in a few minutes. Were on a shelf or table with a bunch of classic titles. The Italian, however, wasn't off by itself, but it was at the end of a bigger shelf, an end cap, I think is the term commonly used, where they had maybe 2 or 3 shelves of books just facing the middle of the store, and they had some horror, mystery, thriller type stories on those 2 to 3 shelves, and the Italian was one of them. Actually, there were only 2 titles on those shelves I was familiar with, and those were Bram Stoker's Dracula and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But all the others, the Italian included, I was unfamiliar with. I felt adventurous enough to take a chance on one of these other titles, and the as mentioned Italian was the one I felt inclined to. So other than Quixote and Italian, I purchased a hardback copy of Edgar Allan Poe collective works. And if I didn't mention the Italian Don Quixote and the last book I'm going to mention or discuss, were all within the $7 range, under $10 for sure, well under $10. So the Edgar Allan Poe collection hardback was roughly $17 before tax. And that's reasonable because for a hardback book, new at that, you typically you typically pay or see a price tag no less than $20 at least before tax. So yeah. In the last book I purchased was Herman Melville's Moby Dick paperback. Funny thing about Moby Dick is I've had that book and several others in hardback editions before. The reason I had those in hardback was because I'm not sure how many people out there may remember, but if you're around my age, you may remember reading or at least seeing these books out there. There was a series of little hardback versions of classic book stories. The general, I don't know if it was I don't know what publishing company, published these, but they all went under the heading of Great Illustrated Classics. And with those generally hardback, because I did have one paperback copy of The Wizard of Oz that fell under that category of Great Illustrated Classic. But with these usually hardback adaptations of books, classic stories, they would have text on one page, the actual story on one page, and then every other page that didn't have text or things of that nature had an illustration. I don't know if they were hand-drawn or not. They looked like they could be hand-drawn, but they weren't in color. They were in black and white ink style illustrations, but they had a caption underneath one little sentence or maybe even a quote from the previous page. Basically, the illustration would capture basically what the previous page was talking about, and the caption or quote, whatever it was, would refer to the illustration as well as the previous page of text. So anyway, Moby Dick was among those titles of great illustrated classics. I had quite a few of those. I had Moby Dick, as mentioned, Frankenstein, which I mentioned a few minutes ago, was among the books with the Italian. I also had others like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, A Tale of Two Cities, Peter Pan, Wizard of Oz, which I believe I mentioned, was a paperback illustrated edition. Like Beauty, there were so many others. I probably had a good 20 to maybe 40 of them. I never bothered counting, but I just decided one day to get rid of those. So I gave them to somebody as a gift for their child, their daughter. And as far as I know, she has read a handful of them. And that was maybe 2 years ago I decided to do that. I did that because they were not that they were unnecessary, or not even that I didn't want them. It's just over the years I decided to just get rid of them and maybe pick those and others back up in other editions. Yeah, so I have read Moby Dick in that great illustrated classics format. So technically, this when I do read this copy of Moby Dick, you may consider it a reread of that story, but it will be a full-on edition of Moby Dick and not an abridged or abbreviated version of the story, which I believe all of those illustrated classics captured the bulk of each story. But anyway, so yeah, to recap on my book buying binge, I guess you could say, a couple of days ago, I got Don Quixote, the Italian Edgar Allan Poe collection, hardcover, and Moby Dick. So I think that'll end it for this video. But let me know if you've read any of these, I'm sure you've heard of all at least 3 out of the 4, those being Edgar Allan Poe and Moby Dick and Don Quixote. And if you've heard of the Italian, also let me know. And if anybody out there has read the Italian, just don't give anything away. Just let me know. Is it worth reading? Did you like it? Things of that nature. So, with that, this has been Mitch P again for Fantasy and Science Fiction Fest, a June 2024 book haul of sorts. And before I go, let me turn the camera if I can, so you can see the books, maybe. Excuse my hand. I apologize. I don't believe I was able to capture any of those in the Kindle camera. But, believe me, they are right here on my right hand side of the table. I wouldn't come on here and tell you anything as far as books or anything that I claim to have and actually don't have. But just as a note, the reason I was able to purchase these books was because my birthday just passed late last month in May, and I was able, or somebody did give me a substantial amount or a gift card to a local bookstore. Well, I say bookstore, but it has books, it has movies, it has games, everything you could possibly think of or want is more than likely in there, or they can get their hands on and order it for you. So the name of the store, if anybody lives between here where I am in Thibodaux, Louisiana, I think that's the first time I mentioned the city of residence where I am, but it's a small little city or town, whatever you want to classify it as, called Thibodaux in the southern part of Louisiana. We have a few restaurants and stores, mainly big name stores like Walmart, things of that nature. But to go to any other specialty stores or maybe other restaurants that we don't have here in Thibodaux, you have to go to Houma, which is maybe give or take 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a 30-minute round trip from here. But anyway, Houma is a little further south, I believe, than Thibodaux. So I go to a store called Second and Charles on Martin Luther King Boulevard in Houma. And that's where I got the, as mentioned, gift card from. And that's where I was able to purchase these 4 books. And soon I will end up getting more things because on the same trip, I turned in some other things because they also take in books, movies, video games, things of that nature. Almost anything that they sell, they take in. So, anyway, I was able to build up a good amount of store credit. So eventually I will get some other items, whether it be books or movies or whatever catches my eye there. So yeah, this video has gone on long enough. Again, Mitch P. Fantasy Science Fiction Fest. Sorry I couldn't get the books in camera, but it's just the way it goes, and the majority of them are too big, too bulky for me to try and hold up in camera myself. So thank you, like, subscribe, pass the word around as always.